Did you know it's possible to be an EMT and be racist and nothing will happen to you? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a throwback for Thursday. Here's a throwback. You see that cat? His name is Alex McNabb. Alex McNabb is host of a neo-Nazi podcast, and he compares black people to animals, but he works as an EMT specialist in Patrick County. Let me give you some more background. This story first came to light in 2019. I'm bringing this to your attention because of the new data that has come out showing that medical doctors and many involved in the healthcare arena, well, they engage in at least implicit racism based on the outcomes of their patients. Well, here's a guy that engages in a hyper-aggressive racism, and they did nothing to him, at least initially. McNabb, 35 years of age, is a frequent co-host of the Daily Shoah, as they call it, a popular neo-Nazi podcast. On the show, he regularly tells stories about being an EMT, often referring to patients by racist slurs and comparing black patients to animals. So this came to the attention of the company that he worked for and the counties that he serviced. There's more. After a 2-month investigation in which fellow employees were interviewed and patient care was investigated, the health department said, and I quote, "We're determined that there is no substantial evidence to support any violation of the EMS regulations," and closed the case, even though he was a well-known white supremacist. I kid you not. Put another picture of him up. Now, this is a picture of him being grilled by the board, the supervising agency that really did go in on him. Now, he was exposed, he was investigated, the health department cleared him. There's more. McNabb, who unlike many in the white nationalist community, does not use an alias, made posts on social media showing himself in an EMT uniform. Let's show him also. Here's that uniform. In a recurring segment on the Daily Shoah, McNabb assumes a persona he calls Dr. Narcan. In these segments, he tells his co-host stories about being an EMT. He regularly refers to black patients as dindus, a deeply racist slur common among the alt-right. Let's put up another picture of this clown. McNabb, who by the way attended the deadly white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017, of course he did, has appeared on over 130 episodes of the Daily Shoah. Shoah is a Hebrew word for calamity and is used most commonly to refer to the Holocaust, according to research from Megan Squire, a computer science professor at Elon University, who studies the far right. Titles of these episodes include Jews Always Lie, Are You Ready for Some Race War, and Black Alert, Black Alert. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring this to your attention because the white supremacist McNabb was initially cleared and allowed to continue to provide healthcare service to those in that community. It took more people to get outraged by this. Now we have a new study that has come out showing that all the way up to medical doctors and people involved in healthcare distribution, they in fact engage in systemic racism. According to the research, if you have a white health professional and you are a black patient, you have a higher risk of dying. Damn. Let's bring the professor in on this. Professor, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, let me just say to start that I'm against racist EMTs. I'm against white supremacist EMTs. And as somebody who's a child of a Holocaust survivor, I'm against anti-Semitic EMTs. And so what I think is important about this case is here's a guy who's serving a public function, right? In other words, he could say, oh, it's the First Amendment, it doesn't matter. But this is somebody who's in many ways a public servant, just like a doctor, a policeman, a fireman. And what happened in this particular case is not just that he said all this horrible stuff or that like many right ringers, they kind of co-opted, the Shoah is the Holocaust, right? So they're basically saying we're the victims of minoritized people, all this stuff. But the important thing in this case is he also started making claims that he was giving worse care to Black patients, right? So in a way, the divide between his online life, what he would say is his First Amendment right, and his job really became blurred. I mean, the kind of central part of this case is that he was saying he was using larger gauge needles in Black teens to draw blood, which is more painful and less effective. So there really was a spillover here between his kind of crazy online life and his job. And to me, that's the main point, is that, we live in a moment right now where people are saying horrible stuff online or nice stuff online. But in this case, to me, it was just kind of a slam dunk, because the minute it starts impacting what either your job or what you're claiming your job or how you're representing your job, number one, you're going to hurt people. And number two, it decreases public trust in, services that we all need, like EMTs.
Yeah, initially, he was cleared by the health department. He did eventually get fired by the board of supervisors, but he was able to remain on the job. He was able to remain getting a paycheck for months after it was exposed who he is. And even during the investigation and his testimony, he basically said that everything he says online should be protected by free speech, and that he's playing a character, even though the character that he made up, that he claims he made up, was closely related to the person he is in real life, an EMT worker who frequently has to care for Black patients and other minority groups. So yeah, he's out. However, the study is in, and the study shows that McNabb is not a silo. McNabb is part of a systemic culture in healthcare.